They say it never hurts to ask, but what are some examples where it hurts to ask? What happened to your baby? I thought you were pregnant. My mom told me one time an acquaintance of hers was pregnant. When mom saw her, she said, "Dang, you still haven't had the baby yet?" And she said, "I had the baby 6 months ago." Mom said it was one of the worst things she's ever said to someone. I make it a point to never comment on anything about pregnancy. Best case is making small talk. Worst case is horrible embarrassment, and the line is very thin. In college, some friends and I got caught smoking weed in a park by a park ranger. He was pretty cool, and it seemed like we were going to get away with a warning until one of my friends piped up and said, "You're not going to call the real cops, are you?" The dude's attitude towards us did a 180 real quick. "You see this gun? Do you see this badge? I am the real cops." Reminds me of some body cam footage I had to review for work. Our client was charged with trespassing and poaching and made a real ass of himself with a conservation agent as he yelled, "You're a deer cop? You can't arrest me. I'm not getting arrested by a deer cop." Turns out he was wrong. He was wrong about a lot of things, but that thing especially. Don't those guys have a lot more power than city police? As a server, where's that other woman you always come in with? I once walked into a restaurant with my girlfriend of 6 years, and the waiter, whom I had never met until this point, comes over and opens with a, "Hi mate, wow, she's not the one you came in with last week. Haha, just kidding. Can I get you guys any drinks?" Like, why would you say that to a stranger? I feel like he wanted you to punch him just so he could feel something. The name of someone you've known for a while. I once had a friend in college that it took nearly 6 months to figure out his name even after going out for drinks after our evening class every week. I think both of us didn't want to admit we didn't know each other's names, so we just went with Buddy for months until we recognized another student at the bar and we introduced ourselves and realized we were finally going to learn each other's name. That's a great game of chicken. Too bad it ended so evenly. Asking someone to repeat themselves a third time, and it's never anything important. The other person usually ends up screaming, "The grass is really wet over here." In the immortal words of Mitch Hedberg, "Now I'm yelling some insignificant crap like, 'That tree is far away.'" Literally what my husband and I yell at each other when we are mumbling something unimportant. Between one of my friends and a random person at the blood bank, I was donating and we were going to get lunch afterwards. Stranger, "Are you going to donate too?" Him, "I would if I could, but medically I can't." Stranger, "Why? Did you get HIV or something?" Him, "He did in fact live with HIV." Damn, but why would you ask someone you don't know if they have HIV in the first place? Probably because you'd expect them to say no, when in reality the number of people living with it is far higher than you'd guess. Any question from a supposed authority or expert that reveals a complete lack of understanding of the matter in question. A judge who once asked why the YouTube video under evidence could not be printed for him to review. There's nothing worse than the internal screaming when you realize that your work and company's reputation is now completely hostage to someone who hasn't the finest idea how what you do works. Remember the video of the representative, not sure what office, who was asking a Navy officer if expanding a naval base on Guam would cause the island to capsize? That was hilarious and terrifying. One of my friends has a sister that is battling cancer. I always want to ask how she's doing, but I fear the worst. Also, I would feel bad if I didn't ask. Just say you've been thinking about her. Your friend will tell you what they are comfortable sharing. "Hey, I've been thinking about your sister recently." Pre-COVID, at work, they would often have mobile services like blood donations parked beside our building. One day, I was walking with a woman at work who wanted to talk about things while getting some fresh air. There was a long period of silence when I couldn't think of anything to talk about, and I saw we were walking up to the edge of the building and a large mobile was parked there. So I asked her, "Have you ever done that before?" She looked at the mobile parked there and back at me. Her face turned bright red. "That is a very personal thing to ask," she said, face still bright red. "Really?" I said as we walked next to it. Then I noticed this wasn't a bloodmobile. It was a mammogram-mobile. I spent a lot of time explaining myself. I don't know why the narrative made me think you walked to the edge of the building on the roof and implied she had almost jumped off a building before. That would be too personal of a thing to ask. Are we more than friends? Reminds me of a buddy of mine who asked a girl he had been hooking up with for a few months why she didn't have a boyfriend. They did not communicate very well, apparently. She thought he was her boyfriend. Mitch Hedberg. I don't have a girlfriend. I just know a girl who'd get really mad if she heard me say that. I had a friend in elementary school who was putting on a particularly heavy dose of sunscreen. Some kid asked him why he was putting on so much. He said, "Because my mom has skin cancer," and the room just became silent. When I was a kid, my dad died from skin cancer. No one ever questioned me why I put on loads of sunscreen. On the upside, I'm over 40 and have the skin of a 20-year-old. Several, actually. I'm making a suit. It puts the sunscreen on its skin or else it gets the hose again. So, do you guys do random drug tests? I just interviewed for a new job, and my only question for them was, do they test for weed? Of course I didn't ask, but that was the only question I had. It was too painful to ask. I actually did ask a potential employer after the interview because I'm in a legal state. She said no, and that she was glad I asked, because then she was able to specify that in cases of accidents, yes, I would be tested for it, as well as making sure that I don't smoke before or on the job, because some people totally do that. Either way though, I definitely get why it's hard to ask. As a teenager, I worked in a grocery store. I saw a customer whose back was to me struggling with all of their items, so I asked, "Do you need a hand?" The man turned around and I could see he was missing a hand. There was just a stub there, and that is why he was struggling. He was a good sport and said, "Yes, it seems I do," lifting his arm, missing the hand in the air. That's not so bad. Dude knew you couldn't see that they were missing it, and it's just a common phrase. I know 2 people with that same disability, and they've told me it never bothers them because someone is asking if they need help. That said, they don't speak for everyone. Okay, but I would find that hilarious. If I were missing a hand, I would do the same thing. My friend's spouse is of Asian descent. My friend is Italian. Their kids take after the spouse. My friend gets asked all the time if it was easy to adopt the kids. Even school administrators have asked, "What country were you adopted from?" to the kids themselves. My friend said people usually just walk away embarrassed after they learn that they're biological, but that one woman said, "Well, can you blame me for asking?" Yes, Patricia. Also, someone's nationality when you don't know them. My mother-in-law has an uncommon racial makeup. Way too many people who have no business asking, ask. Like strangers in grocery stores walking up and asking, "What are you?" The worst might be the lady who pointed to her on the street and yelled, "Filipino?" She is not Filipino. This happens to me all the time. They can't even be bothered to ask, "What is your ancestry?" or something. It's always just, "What are you?" I don't know, a frickin' eldritch tentacle-filled trash can, Gina. What do I look like? One day, back when I was at school, I didn't have my phone on silent, and it went off during class. The teacher thought he'd make an example out of me and ask who the text was from. I replied, "My mom. She's in the hospital with cancer." He shut right up and went back to the lesson. She was being treated for stage 4 bowel cancer. She had a 25% prognosis, so naturally everyone was on edge. That was almost 15 years ago, and fortunately she is still with us, and got all clear some time ago. When you ask a woman if she's pregnant. I've been asked this twice. Both times I was wearing the same dress and was not pregnant. Not wearing that dress anymore. I had an older lady customer argue with me over whether or not I was pregnant while I was mopping. No, that would be physically impossible. "But you're glowing." It's hot. My favorite part was her response, "Well, I don't know about you, but I'm disappointed." It hurts to ask for help a lot of the time. When people respond badly, it makes it worse. Right? I have depression and have not been doing well. Friend. Homer sliding into the hedges. "Well, I don't want to keep you. I can see you've got ice cream in your cart. Great catching up. Good to see ya. Take care now." Asking paramedics, cops, or whoever to tell you about the worst thing they ever saw. I'm a trauma nurse and I have seen some screwed up stuff. I've learned to compartmentalize, be it for the better or worse. If you ask me what's the worst thing I've ever seen, I have no problem telling you. But guess what? Now my trauma is your trauma, and I'm not sure you want that. "Hey, teacher, are you going to collect the homework you assigned yesterday?" I had a teacher who would give tons of assignments but give due dates. There were numerous instances where I tried to turn something in on one day. She told me to hold on to it, and I turned it in on the next day and got marked as late. I once had a quiz that we did in class get marked as late somehow. Teacher, is there any homework for tonight? For me, it's, what did I miss while I was gone? After clearly telling them numerous times to check the calendar on the website if you miss a day to know what you missed. The second is, what am I supposed to be doing? After I spent the last 10 minutes using different modalities explaining what the students should be doing. Oh, but dude, you took so long getting to the point that by the time it was time to do it, I needed a reminder. Hey, boss, I got an offer from another company for more money. Anyway, can you match? Answer: no, we will open a requisition to fill your position. New job. Someone else already accepted the position first. Be careful when using job offers as leverage. You almost immediately take yourself out of leadership's long-term plans. If I've already gone through the process of looking and the offer is good, I don't accept counteroffers from my existing company. Usually, I've already asked for the raise or promotion from my current company. If they didn't value me, then the value they see when I want to leave will be short-term. For short-term positions, this can make sense. For positions that you've been in for several years, where there are significant perks tied to your tenure/time of employment, it may make more sense to want to stay. I've seen a lot more over the past 10 years of people trying to use job offers as leverage for pay increases. It's a great tactic, but it can leave you jobless pretty quick as well. I once asked for a pay increase. My boss then asked what I was on, and I told him, and he said, "Oh, you shouldn't be on that much." Why would someone want to adopt a child? This hurts every time because my parents were my fosters and then adopted me. They knew they would have a struggle adopting so late in life, and the mental and emotional and social scars my biofam left me with. They still chose to adopt me, to care for me, to love me unconditionally. Through every breakdown, every fight, and all of the troubles I had with school and bullies. They fought for me when my biofam tried to barge back into my life after I made it clear I wanted nothing to do with them. They kept me safe. So doubters, let me fire one back at you. Why would you deny foster kids a family? My family lost me because partying and boys were more important than I was. But the family I have would cut off their own arms if it meant it would keep me safe. I strive to put myself into positions to adopt and/or foster one day. Kids deserve the world, and there's a lot of older kids that need love too. I asked, boy or girl, to a woman with a pink-clad baby. I barely survived. Not in your obvious clad in a pink case, but really babies look like nothing. I know far too many women who have gotten upset because their blob of a human was mistaken for the opposite gender. Your baby doesn't look like any gender until like 3 years old if you don't dress them appropriately. When I was growing up, ages ago, nobody expected people to know the baby's sex. Most of the baby's clothes were light green or yellow, so you could use them on multiple kids regardless of sex. Asking the sex was a common thing. Don't ask someone when the baby is due unless they look like it's due tomorrow. Some people are just fat. Also, don't ask someone if they're trans. If you're right, you told them they don't pass. If you're wrong, you told them they look like the opposite sex. Either way, not something people like to have pointed out. I was at summer camp one day and the person asked my mom a question, and since they couldn't tell my gender, they asked if they had a snack. I didn't find it offensive, and I didn't realize that I looked so gender neutral. Increasingly, they, and quite frankly historically, has been used as a generic pronoun rather than a strictly gender-neutral pronoun. A lot of people will still use they even when they can tell someone's gender. Asking anything while having social anxiety. Let me just overthink and rephrase the question to myself for several hours, only to get a sure. Asking someone that you're crazy about, who isn't interested in you, if they want to go out sometime. That hurts. They say the worst thing they can say is no. I'll argue whoever came up with the phrase was handsome or pretty and has never heard a person respond with ew. True story. The wife and I were expecting twins, but we lost one prematurely. When we arrived home, we lived in an apartment building, my wife didn't want to share the news and just wanted to be left alone for a while. I thought it was a good strategy to seek out the families we were close to and give them a heads up. Please give us space. As I was informing one couple, the local Karen overheard and butted in. I reluctantly told her but asked her not to talk to my wife. Later that night, she rang the doorbell with the excuse that she was just walking by and wondered how we were. That put me in the doghouse with the wife for a few weeks. A few months later, the single dad took the child for a walk around the neighborhood. I got cornered by Karen in the lobby. Does she ask how I'm doing? It's hard being a new parent, I tell her. Can you imagine how hard it would have been if you had twins? What the frick is wrong with some people? I'm sorry you went through that. A new girl started at my old job, and we were having a slow day, so we all began to chit-chat and somehow got on the topic of house pests. Someone brought up roaches, and she asked, what do they form from? No one was sure what she was talking about, so she stated, as ants form from rotting food, what do roaches form from? This girl, late 20s, mother of 2, believed that food would rot to the point that it turned into ants, like some kind of magic metamorphosis. That blew my mind. Someone can believe that last month's meatloaf is about to become a swarm of insects. Spontaneous generation was a part of human thought up until the late Middle Ages. They used to believe that moths came from clothes, and that mice would form from grain. You have PTSD? What happened? Whenever I meet someone who asks what I do for a living, I'm on disability, I cringe, knowing that they're likely going to ask, for what? Then that a lot of people will charge forward asking if I was in the military or for an explanation of what caused the PTSD. Like, dude, it's a trauma disorder where the person can't stop thinking about the events. Don't force me to think about that kind of stuff just to satisfy your idle curiosity. I have a child from a previous relationship. Long story short, I got cut off from all contact with this child from the time that they were about 7 months old until 18. Never saw them once due to the controlling and manipulative nature of their mother. The child came back into my life when they turned 18, and I was ecstatic. Oh my goodness, finally I can build a relationship with this person I've thought about for years. We meet. It's awkward, but we make the most of it. The child comes over for dinner and meets the other half of their family. It seems to be going okay. Over the next few months, I try to reach out, text, email, invite, etc., and I met with one-word answers. I sent them a Christmas gift, having known very little about their likes and interest, and didn't even get a thank you. The attempts to reach out dwindled, and I started to realize there just might not be anything here. Out of the blue, I get a text asking me to buy them a car. I'm absolutely dumbfounded. So was the entire thing just a long con shakedown? Come over to my house to size me up and then ask for money? I told them that it's just something I can't do right now, and the reply was, okay, doesn't hurt to ask. Actually, yes it does. There haven't been any additional communication attempts since. Asking about your partner's past. It's so intriguing, but always hurts to hear. I never get that. We all had a past before meeting our current partners. If your partner's past is unusually crazy, then I guess I can get that. But I've seen dudes flip out about completely normal stuff. Like, where did you think she learned that thing you like in bed? She's been with dudes before you. Duh. Don't ask questions you aren't sure you want the answers to. It always hurts. Every time. I always want to know the answers to everything, though. It's 42. Whoa, what happened to you? While pointing to someone's scar. Like, thanks, asshole. I was feeling cute and confident enough to wear a light sundress today. Thanks for ruining that by making me feel too ugly to wear normal people things without having my blemishes exclaimed upon by strangers. If you're in a position of significantly greater power, asking someone who cannot say no, or is conditioned to never say no, it does hurt to ask. What is he? The woman was asking about the ethnicity of my child. I pretended I didn't understand and she kept going. Unbelievable how racism can catch you by surprise. Our kids used to play together, obviously not since then. Just say, this one is human. I think in most cases it hurts the person answering. For example, what does this tattoo mean or represent? It can be very deep and sensitive stuff for the one answering. As for a question that hurts the one questioning, I guess something along the lines of, How much do you like me? Something where we have an expectation of the answer, which sadly generally turns out to be way higher than the answer provided. Generally speaking, anything about the process of a trans person's transition details. Don't ask their old name or about their body or about the traumatic transphobia they've experienced unless they are volunteering that info freely. They're not your interesting medical case, and you can keep the speculation to yourself. I'm a professor. If the answer we give you is, it's in the syllabus, it hurt you to ask. You should have sought out the answer in the place we told you on day one where the answers lie. If you need clarification about something in the syllabus or assignment guidelines, be explicit in that. We also absolutely hate it when students ask for special exceptions that are explicitly prohibited by our syllabus. I'm not talking about getting reasonable accommodations due to an illness, etc. I'm talking about you not doing crap the whole semester and then asking if you can have some very special extra credit just for you that requires time and mental bandwidth on my part, which I already am short on. Even though the syllabus says explicitly that there is no extra credit. Own your crap, accept your failures, and try again next semester. Thanks for watching until the end. Be sure to stop by the channel, subscribe, and check out another video.